What is up, everybody? Welcome into this week's episode of It's Called Football on the Vendetta Sports Media YouTube channel. I'm Jerry Walker. Alongside me is Jackson Fyda. And Jackson, Christmas is tomorrow. We are recording Christmas Eve, December 24th. But for us footy fans, Christmas is coming a day later. Boxing Day, we have 10 matches. It's going to be a great stretch. We have 20 matches between the 26th of December and the 1st of January. Going to be a great stretch, and we'll touch a little bit on some of the matches from this past weekend because there are three big results that we decided are worth talking about. But then we will get into some of the matches we think are worth going in detail on because it's as you said it before we started the show, it's not a great stretch of games. It's a little rough, a lot of top teams against bottom teams, not much mid-table mediocrity matches going on. It's really, really weird setup. So I'm used to in the past for Boxing Day having these big matches go against each other, big teams playing each other, and we don't have that much this year. So we are pulling at straws. We have a couple matches we're going to touch on. One team in the relegation zone is in trouble this week. They have a brutal stretch, and we'll touch on Leicester's chances there. And before we get into our final predictions for the other 15 matches of the upcoming weekend. But before we do that, Jackson, how you doing on this Christmas Eve?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. But then obviously, like you said, Boxing Day for footy fans is like another Christmas. You go from Christmas right into Boxing Day. And what sucks is, as you mentioned, the match schedule isn't looking as interesting as many of us are accustomed to on Boxing Day. But we know it's the Premier League. I'm sure we'll get an upset or two, and it'll be very interesting. At the end of the day, a bunch of games coming our way in a short amount of time. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And I'm sure we're going to have some good results, good matchups at the end of the day. But we'll see, because on paper, as we've highlighted, it's not looking great. But still excited, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. On paper, it's not looking great, but it's the Premier League, so chaos always ensues one way or another. Chaos ensued this past weekend, and we'll start there. Man United hosted Bournemouth, and this was, in a lot of ways, a must-win for Man U. They've looked rough the last couple of matches, barely squeaking by losing to Tottenham in the Cup after beating Man City, losing their two previous Premier League matches, 3-2 against Forest at home and 2-0 on the road against Arsenal. But God, losing 3-0 to Bournemouth might take the cake, and fair play to Bournemouth. They balled out.
They did. They really did.
Yeah, what were your thoughts on this one? Because this is one that I know Bournemouth is now currently sitting fifth in the table. Man U is still down in 13th. But this was one that I'm like, okay, Man U should be able to get this done and get at least a point, if not three.
Yeah, I mean, it's really disappointing because A, you lose 3-0, but B, it was at home. You know, you're at home, and it's not like they didn't have chances, right? They had most of the possession. I think it was about 60%. They had 23 shots, 7 of which were on target. Bournemouth had 10, 5 of which were on target. So, I mean, it wasn't like, man, you didn't have the ball. They didn't create chances. They did. They just didn't score. And defensively, they were shambolic, to say the least. 3 goals. First of all, getting started on that set piece. There's no way you can get beat across the body like that, allow a guy to get in front of you and get a flick with basically no pressure. I forget who was marking him at the time, but it was way too easy of a header.
Far too easy.
Far too easy.
Sure, Man U's got some defensive issues and injuries. Like Luke Shaw's still out, but he's always out. Matthias de Ligt's out. Victor Lindelof is out at the moment, or was for this match. So the back three of Mazzori, Harry Maguire, and Lisandro Martinez, I think that's doing better, but it's really not.
And it's not working.
I don't know what the issue is. Delut looked like half of himself, dropping back defensively. The whole midfield looked rough, and this was just one that Man U got absolutely bodied.
They did. They got clinical.
Despite, like you said, they just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net despite whatever. Their shots were 10 on target, as you said, 60% possession. They had 13 corner kicks. Looking at the stats alone, you'd think Man U won this match.
Yeah.
But It's the lack of clinicality, I think, is a good way to put it. Xerxes had a couple chances he missed. Bruno Fernandes, a couple chances. But it's like you bring in Rasmus Højlund. He doesn't do anything. You leave Marcus Rashford out of the lineup completely. Garnacho comes on and doesn't do anything. He looks like he might be out the door come January because we also have that, folks. The January transfer window is a week and a half away or a week and a day away. So there's going to be a lot of things changing. I think Man U is one of those teams that really needs something to change drastically and quickly.
They do. And I feel bad because I keep giving Amorim the benefit of the doubt, right? I do think he's going to ultimately turn things around in some form. I'm not saying they're going to go win the league. I'm not even saying they're going to make Champions League, but I do think you'll see a turnaround. But I was honestly expecting it to happen sooner. I really was, just from the mental aspect of having a new head coach, and it's just not really happening right now. Obviously, injury issues, stuff like that. But back three, where you have Mazraoui playing in it, which is interesting to say the least, in my opinion, having Mazraoui as one of the three. It's just not working, at the end of the day. And I want to give full credit to Bournemouth because what a game. What a game. What a game.
It's not guys you expect to step up for him who were as well. Like, it wasn't Kluivert getting the goals. It wasn't Semenyo.
Well, he got the penalty.
They did the second. Yeah, Kluivert did have a penalty, but he wasn't the one who made that. He's just putting the ball in the back of the net. And Olsen got the first goal. It was one that just felt weird because it was those 2 goals in 2 minutes. 61st minute, the penalty you just alluded to. Then 63rd minute, it just seemed like Man U, as soon as they brought the subs on, just fell apart even more. Personally, love to see, but
yeah, it's crazy to see. A lot of people right now are focusing on Manchester City and all the issues they're experiencing. We'll go into that here in a second, but Man U right now is still going through stuff despite a managerial change. And I don't know, it's interesting to watch. It's awesome from a hate Man U perspective, but it's like, I don't know, it feels depressing to watch some of the times. Because in this game, they had the chances, they had the possession, and they just couldn't turn it into goals. And at the end of the day, you could say that's all right, right? Like, you're going to have off days, you're not going to score. We just need to defend well, we'll get a point, whatever. Didn't even happen. Didn't even come close to happening. 3 goals, one of which is a penalty, avoidable. One of which is a set piece goal, avoidable. And then Semenyo just put the cherry on top at the very end when the game was already done, So it's just not working. I think heading into this January transfer window, need a serious overhaul defensively, offensively, basically everywhere. You're going to need to do some work. They're going to need a serious renovation to get things working again.
I 100% agree with you, and I think they need a true number 9. Højlund, Rashford. I think Rashford might be gone as well. It sounds like
he will be
heading out, which I'm very curious to see where he ends up because I still think he's a solid player. I just think he needs to get out of Manchester United.
Yeah,
and that's a whole nother issue. Is Man U itself. I think the more and more we see this team playing, the less or the more and more I think Ten Hag wasn't the issue, and I think it's the players who are playing. They don't look like they're playing for each other. They don't look like they're playing for the badge. And they're just not putting things away. I mean, you look at the Forest loss. They lost 3-2. They outshot them 7-3 shots on target. Had another 10 shots that didn't go on. 71% possession, but still found themselves on the losing side of things. Once again, you dominate Bournemouth. You just can't put the ball in the back of the net. Something needs to change. I think it will. I don't know if it'll be the second half of this year or if it'll be next year. I'm expecting a lot of money being spent by Man U this summer. Financial fair play. Pay attention to that. We'll see what happens. Moving on, unless you have any other thoughts on the Man U and Bournemouth match.
We can move on.
Moving on to the other Manchester team who you alluded to, Man City. Took on Aston Villa at Villa Park, which, as we all know, last year Villa Park was a fortress. This year it's been solid, nothing crazy. But they come out and dominate Man City, win 2-1. The Man City goal was a 93rd minute goal from Phil Foden, who about damn time he did something and scored.
First one of the season.
First goal of the season. It's been horrendous for him. And it wasn't a match that they dominated either, Man City. They had 56% possession. Both teams had 6 shots on target. It just wasn't one of those matches. And fair play to Aston Villa. Getting it started quickly. 60 minutes in, Jean Duran got a goal. Great goal. Followed up by Morgan Rogers a little bit later. And John McGinn, who got the assist on that, he's been superb the last couple of years for Villa. I'm be surprised if we see him make a move to a big club in the upcoming years or upcoming year or so, but we'll see. I know he's getting a little bit older at the moment. So what is he, 30 years old? So
yeah, he's getting up there, yeah.
Yeah. But it's the fact they also did this without Ollie Watkins.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge part of this. I'll let you talk on.
Yeah, I mean, Villa played phenomenally well. Lost the possession battle a little bit, but that's bound to happen against Manchester City. Teams rarely win that battle, but they had basically the same amount of shots. I think they're outshot 11-12. So that's basically even. Had the same amount on target and were much more clinical. You know, the first goal was a devastating counterattack, which Aston Villa played perfectly. Manchester City defensively, I don't know what was going on there. You play the high line, but you not just play the high line. You play the high line where John Stones steps aggressively, gets cooked, and allows the counterattack to just happen. Rico Lewis doesn't slide in. He's being lazy. He stays out there worrying about the outside winger, doesn't tuck in, and that's how that first goal happens. And that's just kind of a good example of the defensive struggles that City's had this season and why they are where they are. They can't defend right now. It looks so disjointed when they're defending. And it showed right there. I mean, I was watching that and I was like, I had to rewind it because I was like, there's no way that this just happened where he stepped that aggressively and Rico Lewis doesn't come in and cover, because that allowed an easy counterattack to happen. And that just kind of set the mood for the rest of the game. Morgan Rogers, great finish on his left foot, going away from goal. That was a really good finish. He also got the assist on the first one as well. So great game from him. He's an absolute stud. He also is a former City player as well. So I'm sure that was awesome for him. But yeah, City it's bad. It is bad. There's no other way to put it. Defensively, it is bad. Offensively, it is bad. When your only source of goals is Erling Haaland, minus the ball bouncing around aimlessly and Phil Foden being able to luckily latch onto it, which is how they scored.
Yeah.
That there was skill involved at the end, but the first 2 guys he got by literally tripped, fell, ball bounced right to him. That was luck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would have been a 2-0 game. He got a lucky bounce at the last minute of the game. But it's just so bad from them. Offensively, if it's not Foden, who's he going to be? Obviously nobody for the most part. Yep. They don't have any threat going forward besides him.
Yeah, Grealish was struggling. He had the whole crowd booing him as he was the former Aston Villa player. Bernardo Silva looked rough. Kovacic, Gundogan, there's a reason they came off, and then their replacements didn't do much. And John Stones, you brought him up making a mistake. I know it's his first game back in 9 matches. He hasn't played since October 30th, so that's a long time off. But I expected him to kind of come in and not immediately, I guess, but I didn't expect him to make this stupid plays. It didn't even look like it was a physical thing. It looked more like it was mental, and he wasn't prepared to go for the ball and have someone back him up. But it's a bad look for City. They lose yet again. I want to say this is their third straight loss. And I just don't know. I think they might be done for. I really do think City are in the mud, and their chance at a 5-peat this year is not.
It's not happening. They're not catching Liverpool, in my opinion. Now, plenty of season left to go, but if Liverpool wins that game in hand, they're 15 points ahead. That's 5 games.
Yep.
I don't see that happening. I don't see that gap being narrowed. I think they're too far out of it at this point. Again, maybe we'll be proven wrong, but with Rodri out and just the overall lack of cohesion we see both offensively and defensively with City, I see no way. And what I think is really disappointing about this for City fans is that it feels like the players and the staff are content. They're content with what they've done, because every time someone brings it up, they just say, we've won this many trophies. See Grealish do. You've seen Guardiola do it.
You saw Grealish getting booed, and he holds
Yeah,
up 2 fingers. Oh, I've just won the 3 Premier Leagues with him in a row. What are you guys
exactly.
talking about? Like,
And that's what they care about. They care about the past. That season's over. The season before that's over. None of that matters.
mhm.
Every season is its own new thing. You don't worry about the past. Who cares that you won that, right? At the end of the day, what matters is today. And right now, City's not getting it done. And I feel like they're just too content with what they've done. Where they're just, oh, we've already won 3. Oh, these people are disrespecting us, but we've won 4 in a row. Grealish, oh, I've already won 3. Guardiola even got that attitude, as I mentioned earlier. And I just think that's the wrong attitude to have.
Yeah.
And because of that, I don't see them winning the title because they just feel so content with what they've done. And they just want to rub it in people's faces that they have won 4 in a row, that they're too busy worried about defending themselves and what they've done in the past and focusing on the present and trying to win the title.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
how it feels.
No, 100%. I'm with you on that one. They're always deflecting any question about, what's gone wrong this season? Oh, we won all this stuff the last few years. We're
Yeah.
doing, and in their defense, they have won all this stuff in the last few years. They are due for a rougher season. Happens to everybody. It always catches up. And De Bruyne has looked rough. Rodri obviously being injured. Stones, all these other players who have been in and out of the lineup with injuries. But still, as a coach once said, Herm Edwards once said, you play to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
You don't play to talk about the past.
Mm-hmm.
But like each to their own. Man City's looking in the mud at the moment. I'm with you. I don't think they can catch up. But the other side of things, great win for Aston Villa. That puts over Man City. They're now 6th in the table. Man City 7th. There's a point difference, 28 for Villa, 27 for Man City. And they just look to keep kind of chugging along because Villa wasn't off to the best start this season, but they seem to have found their groove lately.
Mm-hmm. No, they're picking up results now.
Oh, yeah. Won 4 of their last 5. Only loss was away to Forest, who's sitting 3rd in the table. So you can't knock them for that one. That loss looks better and better each week. And that was also one that they did collapse in, Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Gave up the 87th-minute equalizer to Milinkovic and then gave up the winner to Elanga in the 93rd minute. That one happens. Stuff like that happens. But it's more the fact that they had gone winless for about a month leading into this recent stretch across all competitions. So this was a big one. They're kind of finally turning it around. What are you expecting from Villa come the rest of the season? Are you thinking they're going to continue to compete for Europe, or do you think they'll fall off the pace a little bit?
I expect to see more of the same, picking up some mainly good results and then having some slip-ups, I expect to see more of that, like what we've seen from them recently, because very talented squad, very good manager. So I expect to see them do that, and I could see them pushing for top 4 again, 100%. I actually think they're doing an all right job of managing both Champions League and Premier League for a team that just hopped into it. I think they're actually doing all right.
Because where are they in the Champions League table at the moment? They're towards the top. I know they've only lost once or dropped. Yeah, lost once.
So they're doing well there, and they've got themselves back into 6th place in the Premier League. Like they're actually doing a decent job of managing both. I heard someone on TV trying to say that they weren't doing a good job, and I was sitting there like, I think they're doing a great job for a team that hasn't been in this position before. I think they're doing phenomenally. We saw what happened with Newcastle when they were confronted with the same kind of dilemma last season. They fell apart, So I think Villa's doing remarkably well, all things considered. They're into the knockout stages of the Champions League, and they're back in the running for Champions League in qualification in the Premier League. They're finally getting their groove going. So I expect to see more of that, winning most of their games, looking good in most of theirs, especially at home, but you're still going to see a slip up. I don't expect to see anything crazy out of them, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them nab 4th place. I really wouldn't. I could see that happening. I could also see him staying in 5th or 6th, but I think you'll see more or less the same as what we've seen in recent weeks from Villa as the season goes on.
Oh, yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. And their fixtures upcoming across everything are honestly relatively favorable. They have Newcastle on Thursday, Brighton at home to Brighton on the weekend, home to Leicester. But then it's like Everton, Arsenal will be a little tough, West Ham, Wolves, Ipswich. And that leads us to February 15th is when that Ipswich one is. Sure, they have some Champions League in there, but as you said, they're already through to the knockout stage. Don't really need to worry about that, and they can focus on the league. And this is a good chance for them to get a bunch of points and kind of take advantage of these sleeping giants who have kind of fallen apart this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at the Champions League, and this is going to kind of lead us into the last match that we're talking about from this past weekend, but 3 of the top 5 are Premier League teams. That has to say talk for something. Liverpool's leading the way, Arsenal in 3rd, Aston Villa in 5th, tied on points, just goal difference separating them, and Bayer Leverkusen is the other team tied with them. Barcelona somehow sitting 2nd still, but it's been a pretty impressive time for the Premier League, and it's capped off by Liverpool, who we'll get into their match because they looked damn good once again.
Insane.
Ultimately winning 6-3 at Tottenham. It was pure domination. It was 3-1 at the half. Mo Salah scored 2 in the first 15, 16 minutes, I guess, technically, of the second half. And then Luis Diaz put it away in the 85th minute after Tottenham got 2 back. But this is pure domination, and it's the fact that it's coming from everywhere. We know Mo Salah, and we've talked about this on the show. Mo Salah has carried that team, but it's the other guys who have been stepping up lately. McAllister had a goal. Szoboszlai had a goal. Luis Diaz had 2 and continues to look better and better as they're progressing and as his time at Liverpool is going. But were you more surprised that they dominated that well, or that Tottenham kind of just sat there and took it?
I'm surprised they scored 6. I don't think anyone thought they'd score 6 on the road at Tottenham. I thought they'd win. I thought they'd win by multiple goals heading into it. But 6 goals? That's ludicrous, you know? And what's impressive is you got goals from 4 different people. So it wasn't just kind of coming from a few sources. Obviously, Diaz and Salah getting 2 goals. That's great. But I love seeing the assists happening as well. You know,
Yes.
The first ball from Trent was absolutely heavenly for that first goal. Like world class. When Trent is doing that, he's unreal as an attacking outside back. That first ball just set everything up, and they just kept going from there. Now, I love this performance from them. He would have loved to get the clean sheet, right? But the first goal was kind of a fluky one. You could argue for a foul on that before Madison got it. And then the other 2, game was already in hand. Brilliant finish by Kulusevski, by the way. I thought he took that unbelievably well. And then obviously that goal at the end to make it 5-3. But it was pretty comprehensive at the end of the day, even though they gave up 3, because you scored 6 and you look comfortable doing it. I mean, statistically, they actually had less possession, but just so many more shots. They just look so much more dangerous in attack.
It's the fact that they converted 50% of their shots.
Mm-hmm.
You have 12 shots on target. You put in 6. That's impressive. We saw Man U put up 23 shots this past weekend and not score at all. Regardless, they're not all on target. These 12 were. Tottenham, on the other hand, only had 5 shots on target, still put up 3. So this was a very good game for the attack. And it has me questioning Alisson a little bit in goal for Liverpool, because some of those he shouldn't have let in. And since he's come back, he did have a clean sheet in his first match back, but that was Champions League against Girona. Then gave up 2 against Fulham, now 3 against Tottenham, which is weird because when Liverpool didn't have him, they were getting clean sheet after clean sheet. I'm not saying he's the issue, but it's something to look at. And maybe he's just trying to get adjusted. I know it's very difficult to come off injury and get adjusted like that when you're playing some of the top teams in the world. But that is my one concern with Liverpool right now. But if you're putting up 6, I don't think it matters. This is all no breaks. And you brought up the assists. Luis Diaz, I think, had an assist. Yeah, no. You said Trent. Mo Salah had 2 assists. Szoboszlai
who had the 1
assist. So,
McAllister's was like, it wasn't an assist, but it felt like an assist because of the rebound. Yeah, I mean, that felt like an assist.
Exactly. And it was a just solid all-around performance from Liverpool. Tottenham have a lot to work on. They've just been so bang average this season that it's crazy and doesn't get any easier. Forest on the road and then Wolves at home this week. Home to Newcastle. and then it's at Arsenal, at Everton, home to Leicester. So manageable, but in the midst of that, they have to play a Europa League game against Hoffenheim, have to play Liverpool in the EFL Cup semifinal, and have to play Tamworth on the road in the FA Cup. But
Yeah.
interesting stuff to say the least. Liverpool for shouts. You mentioned it. With a win in hand, they have a match in hand. They're dominating the table. They're currently 4 points clear. If they win their one in hand over Everton, they'll be 7 points clear of Chelsea for second. Before we move into this upcoming week, do you think, and we talked a little bit about it before the show started, do you see anyone catching Liverpool? Because it's historically, I think only one team has led the Premier League at the Christmas break or at the Boxing Day time and not won the league. And I think that might have been Liverpool recently when they fell to Man City.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, every other team that's led it at Christmas time has won the league. They're looking comfortable. Do you see them messing up down the road at all? Or do you think they're going to run away with it?
I don't, because of the depth. Like, just I was thinking about this before the show started. Just the depth that they have in midfield and attack is actually insane. Like, it doesn't seem fair. In that game, you started Luis Diaz started up top. And then you have Salah playing. McAllister's in the midfield. You've got Gakpo. Job lying. Then on the bench, you have Diego Jota able to come in and make an impact. You've got Darwin Nunez. I know he can't finish half the time, but he still wreaks havoc and will score goals eventually. You've got him. You have Harvey Elliott, who can make an impact. Curtis Jones. You've got all these guys. They have so much depth going in attack. So I love that part because I know that there are going to be goals coming, especially if Mo Salah stays healthy.
Yeah.
If he gets hurt, I wonder what happens. I think you'll see a fall off. But if he stays healthy, I think you will see them continue their goal scoring form. And defensively, I think they're solid too. I mean, you mentioned the fact that since Allison's come back, they have given up 5 goals in these 2 games where you wouldn't like that to happen. But I think you need a larger sample size before you really start to judge Allison, in my opinion, because you could just look at them as 2 kind of fluky games. This one, you're dominating so much on the score sheet that defense is going to let up a little bit. You're probably going to have a bit of a mental lapse because you're winning. You don't want that, but it does happen. Everyone's human. So obviously, but again, you want the goals conceded to be as low as possible. And for the most part, they have done that this season. Again, these last 2 games, I think, are more so anomalies. And then you just look at who they have in their defense, and I'm just completely confident in their ability to go and keep the ball out of the back of the net. Any team with Van Dijk, first of all, is going to be solid in the back.
Yep.
He is a leader. He is a warrior. He wins everything in the air, it feels like. Insanely good player, one of the best center backs of this generation. So having him is obviously huge. But then around him, you've got very solid players. I think Joe Gomez has done bits. Obviously can be better, but you know what to expect out of him.
Yeah.
Robertson, Arnold played really well in this game. You know he's not going to be the best defensively a lot of the time, but when he's doing his thing like that, you'll take that kind of trade-off. So just looking at the depth that they have across the field, from defense to midfield to attack, no one comes close this season. So because of that, I just don't see anyone getting there. You know, I don't think you'll see a serious fall off unless Salah gets hurt and it's like a season-ending injury, and they're left scrambling like in the next month or so. I just don't see it happening where anyone can catch up to him.
No, yeah, and even then, it still seems like they're so far ahead and looking so good at every level that I don't see anyone catching them. Crazier things have happened, but not much crazier when you're dominating the league like this. And as I said earlier, first place in the Champions League group, or in the Champions League, into the EFL Cup semifinal, have a relatively easy FA Cup draw. Just last question before we move into this week's stuff about Liverpool. Do you think they have any shot at the quadruple?
I mean, they've got a shot, obviously, because they're still in everything.
How realistic, I guess, do you think will be to say, oh, yeah, best team in England, best team in Europe, I'm going to run away with everything? Because I don't know if it's feasible, personally.
I don't think they'll win the Champions League.
Okay.
I don't think they will. I don't know who will. I just don't think it'll be Liverpool. I think they will have a game where they just let up too many goals and they can't get it back in the second leg, or maybe it's the second leg where they let up too many goals and that dooms them. I can see a fluke kind of thing happening where they don't win it, because Champions League and the Premier League are two very different things. We saw how City struggled for so long to win the Champions League because it's very different than a league. You got to show up in two games. Those games matter. It's not like the Premier League where if you have you have a tie in this game, you can just be like, oh, well, we still have 37 other games. Like it all evens out. I feel like the best teams usually win. In a knockout style format, like we're going to be seeing here in the Champions League very soon, fluky stuff happens, and I think Liverpool will lose in the Champions. I don't know against who, but I do think they will lose in the Champions League. But I could definitely see him winning I see him winning at least a double for sure. I definitely see that. And would not be surprised.
Look at who's left in the Carabao EFL Cup, whatever you want to call it: Arsenal, Newcastle, and then Tottenham and Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think it's a clear favorite in both of those matches, but I think Liverpool is continuously proven this season that they're the best team in England.
100%.
And it's so different going to Europe and playing against the Madrids. I mean, not even Madrids, Barças, Juves, those kind of teams, but you also have to play against the Portuguese sides, those random Croatian teams. You have to play different styles of football.
Mm-hmm.
Big part of it why I kind of agree with you that they won't win the Champions League is because they're not necessarily adept to that.
Yeah.
They're good against it, but it seems like there's teams who are better against the English competition than English competition is against other countries, which is why we haven't had many English Champions League winners in the recent times. I know we had Liverpool win it against Tottenham, playing a Premier League team. Chelsea won it not too long ago, and then Man City, but besides that, it still continues to be the Real Madrid show. Other teams are getting there and putting up fights. And it seems like England continuously fucks themselves out of.
Yeah. It's just a whole different game, the Champions League side of things. And I like the point you bring up. When you go to a different country, it's different style of play. It's also different fan atmospheres.
Yeah.
I know British people like to say that they have the best fans in the world. Not even close. You go to Germany, it's different level of the chance. You go to some of these smaller seeming Eastern European nations for whatever reason, those fans are insane. If you have to play in Croatia, those fans are absolutely nuts.
Oh, that's true. I mean, that's why Galatasaray, you go into Turkey and the first thing is welcome to hell.
Yeah.
The crowd atmosphere, it's just a completely different level. Because sure, the English fans are passionate going off what you're saying, but it's a different level of aggression. And the history of English football fans were being the first real hooligans traveling around Europe, looting everything. Shout out Liverpool for that one as well. Something good always comes from the Scousers, but it's now there's that hostility towards English fans and English teams, and the arrogance of the English national team, it's coming home, the yada yada yada, all that nonsense. That's not how it is in the other parts of Europe. It's we're going to come in and we're going to play our game and make you wish you hadn't stepped on the field. The crowd is going to abuse you with every little inch of their body that they have. So it's one of those things. Who knows what will happen in the Champions League? We're not exactly fortune tellers, but we'll see. Moving on to this week. Enough of the past, time for the future. We had a hard time. Not going to lie, folks. We had a hard time picking our match of the week this week because there's good teams playing. Obviously, everyone's playing, but they're not playing great teams. You have Man City taking on like Everton's, Leicester's, Man U and Wolves. Shit, maybe Man U and Wolves should have been our match of the week, considering honestly both of those teams are. But no, we went with Newcastle and Aston Villa as our match of the week. And it's mostly because it's hard to pick others. Aston Villa sitting 6th, Newcastle sitting 8th. This is about the only exciting top tier of the table. There's 2 points separating them. Newcastle's only 3 points back from having sole position of 5th place. Villa's tied for 5th place, goal difference-wise. They're behind Bournemouth. What are you expecting from this one, and what do you think makes the difference? Because both teams have been on a heater. Villa won 4 of the last 5. Newcastle won 3 in a row. What are you expecting from this match on Thursday?
I think the difference is Alexander Isak. That's going to be my prediction heading into this. He's coming off a phenomenal week where he got a hat trick. I don't think he'll get a hat trick again, but I do think he'll come up with the decisive goal. And a lot of the reason I know that every game's its own thing, but Newcastle are unbeaten in their last 15 Premier League home games against Villa. I feel like there's some mental aspect that goes into this. You know, when Villa's coming in, they haven't won at Newcastle since 2005. Since then, both teams have gone down, that both come up. It's been a long ride, you know, but that still is going to sit in your mind. You're going to hear about it. You're going to see it. And I think that will play a part. And it's always tough to play in Newcastle, right? Like it's always a tough environment. And I'm really a big fan of Aston Villa. Like I said, I expect them to continue having a positive rest of the season like they've been doing in recent weeks. But Newcastle's also doing that. And they're at home. They're only 2 points back of Villa. And I just think Isak is in unbelievable form right now. And I think he's going to be the difference maker. I'm going to give it to him 2-1.
Okay.
I do think both teams score. It's either going to be Duran or someone like that. I could easily see that. But I do think you'll see 2 goals from Newcastle with Isak getting the decisive one. Because it just feels like now that he's finally found his form, Newcastle's found their form. So as long as he keeps playing well, I'm going to back him. Because he's an unbelievable striker who, even if he isn't scoring all the goals, his ability on the ball, his physicality, all that just causes defenses so many problems where if he's feeling himself, the rest of the team's going to feel themselves too. So I'm going to go Newcastle 2-1, and I think Alexander Isak is the difference.
Yeah, I like that shout. Isak in his last 4 Champions or Premier League games, 6 goals, 2 assists. That's a pretty damn good.
It's pretty solid. 8 goal contributions.
And what's craziest about that to me is like you look at the guys who are out. Joe Linton's been out with injury. He was solid last season. Callum Wilson, who was arguably their best player last season, has been out virtually the whole year with injury. Nick Pope, goalkeeping-wise, has been out. I can't get behind Nick Pope one way or another. It seems like he was always in the talk to become the next one to take over for England from Pickford. Never seemed to happen. Him and Ramsdale, and honestly, I couldn't tell you where Ramsdale is at the moment. But it's just been a rough stretch. I love the Alexander Isak shout. He has been so good. Aston Villa, as you said, been solid. Going and playing in Newcastle, though, has given them the boogie. Last season, they lost 5-1 at Newcastle. The year before, it was 4-0. 1-0 in 2022 or the 21-22 season. So it's not like they're very good there. And I do think that plays a big part in the fact that it's going to be cold. It's going to be gray. It's going to be miserable in Newcastle, the northernmost Premier League team. I like them to win. And honestly, I kind of like a shutout this one. I think Dan Burn, Fabian Schär are going to lock it up. I really think the big difference, though, is going to be Sandro Tonali and that midfield of him, Joe Wilcock, Guillermis, where they just out-muscle and out-control the way. Because they play a 4-3-3. Looks like Villa plays more like a 4-2-3-1. And I just think that Villa's not going to have enough pressing attack. Sure, Rodgers had a goal and an assist at the weekend. John McGinn had an assist as well. So they're not bad players, but I just think something about this has shut out, and I'm going 2-0 to Newcastle on it.
It's a decent shout.
Moving on to a couple games, or I guess we'll stick with just one game at a time right now, but Nottingham Forest hosting Tottenham. Nottingham Forest, 3rd in the table. So they have looked very good. Tottenham, as we've just discussed, have looked very bad as of late, or very iffy and consistent. This, to me, has the written of a Tottenham surprise on it. I don't know why, but for some reason, I have a feeling we're going to see a Son game. We haven't had a Heung-min Son game in a little while where he just takes over. Against Southampton, but that Southampton, he had a goal and 2 assists. He had 1 goal against Man U. But he's not scoring, not assisting nearly as often as we've seen in the last couple years. I think this is one for him to ball out and show that he's there. Wouldn't be surprised if we see Madison or Solanke get on the score sheet as well. But the hard part is keeping Chris Wood out. Because this Nottingham Forest team aren't the best offensively, only 23 goals, but they've been locked down as well. 19 goals allowed. The second tied, I guess technically tied third least. Two teams have 16, Arsenal and Liverpool. Then they're tied with Chelsea with 19 goals conceded. I do think Tottenham gets it done though. I think Tottenham gets it done this time. I think Chris Wood's going to have one of those games that he's just like kicking himself. He has 10 goals this season. I don't think he gets it. I think he misses a sitter at some point. That's a Leeds in him.
Yeah,
I'm going to take Tottenham 2-1 because I do think someone scores for Forest. I just don't think it'll be Chris Wood. Not sure who it'll be, but could see a guy like Alenga getting a goal or Hudson-Odoi. So,
see, I'm doing the reverse of that. In my gut, it's telling me Tottenham's going to win this game, but I'm going to go against my gut because I think Forest deserves that respect.
And that I will say that's something we've been saying. Okay, Forest, it's time for you to fall off the pace. It's time you're finally going to lose these games, and they keep going. So fair play to them.
Yeah, they keep winning. They keep winning. So I'm going to give them that respect and give them the benefit of the doubt and give them the 2-1 win. I think it's going to be a tight game. I really do. I think both teams will score. I agree with you on that point. But with how they're playing right now, I got to back them because they're beating good teams, right? They just beat Villa the other day where they're down 1-0. They scored 2 late goals to win the 2-1, and they also had a goal ruled out, also in a similar time frame. Like, they're finding ways to win, and I like how they play defensively as well. They haven't scored a whole lot of goals, but as you highlighted, they have tied for third least goals conceded against them out of any team in the Premier League, which for a team that was toward the bottom of the table ever since they've been promoted, that's a remarkable accomplishment, And it's something that's being glossed over, I think, when we talk about Forest, because most of it is Chris Wood, most of it is look at these late goals. But how about how well they've played defensively?
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it in their last one. They go to Brentford. Brentford was previously unbeaten at home in 8 matches. They were 7 wins, 1 draw, no losses. They go and beat them 2-0. And it wasn't a close 2-0 at the weekend. It was pretty dominant and pretty controlled. Brentford had 3 shots on target to Forest 6. Possession I've given up following because it seems every match we're talking about, the team that wins has less possession.
Yeah, literally.
It goes also goes into like the style of today's game where it is very much counterattacking football and all of that. But going to Brentford, a place that's been a fortress this year, and winning 2-0, I do like where Forest is at. I just have some gut feeling that Tottenham's going to get it done this time.
Yeah.
Moving on to a specific team now that I think has the worst luck of all the teams at this Boxing Day, Christmas time draw is Leicester. Here's who Leicester have to play because it's nice, easy games. You go to Liverpool on Thursday, Boxing Day, the 26th. Then 3 days later on the Sunday, the 29th, you're home to Man City. No, it's not the same Man City, but it's still Man City. And for a team that's sitting, 2 points clear of the relegation zone, they already have a worse goal difference than Wolves. Same goal difference as Ipswich. 2 points ahead of both of them. This is a make-or-break weekend for them to not necessarily pick up points, but if they can avoid getting battered, because realistically, I could see Liverpool putting up 5. I could see Man City putting up 3, maybe 4 on them. Because they have been so bad. They've given up 37 goals, the second most in the league, only trailing Wolves, who've given up an outstanding 40 goals.
That's insane, by the way.
What's also crazy is you look at that. So they've given up the most goals. There's only 4 teams who've scored, or 5 teams who have scored more goals than them this season. Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man City, and Tottenham. Those are the only teams who've scored more goals than Wolves. Yet, 3 of those are the top 3 in the league. Tottenham's mediocre. Man City, we all know what's going on. And then there's Wolves, who is sitting at the bottom. It's so bad. But this is a make or break for Leicester to avoid getting blown out. I'm not sure they do. I'm probably going to go 4-0 to Liverpool and 2-1 against Man City. with Leicester falling on the end of both ends. But what do you think of this? Because what do you think of this weekend means for Leicester? Do you think they need to get a point here?
Mhm.
I know there's a bunch of time left, but
Yeah, I'm not going to say they need to. It'd be nice, obviously.
Yeah.
But what works out for them is that when they're playing Liverpool, which I think they're going to get thrashed, I'm going to say 3-0. I'm going to go on a little easy on them, but I could see it being 5.
yeah,
I don't think they score either. So they're going to get thrashed by Liverpool. But Ipswich is playing at Arsenal. So
yeah,
that's a tough game. When you
Yeah.
expect Arsenal to win. And Wolves is playing Man U. Man U's obviously going through a rough patch, but it's still a game that they could very easily lose, you know? So that's good for them. And then heading into the next week, they have to play Manchester City. I think they lose that game 3-1. They find a way to score because City just can't get clean sheets, but they lose the game nonetheless.
Yeah.
Wolves has to go to Tottenham.
Yeah, Wolves.
Yeah. So I'm taking Tottenham in that. I have to. At Tottenham, 100%. And Ipswich has to host Chelsea.
Yeah, so Ipswich has just
Mhm.
honestly, Ipswich might have it even worse.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that. Yeah, Chelsea and Arsenal. Arsenal away, Chelsea at home. These bottom teams, and this is where we start to see that gap be formed. I'm almost convinced of it because you look at the next two teams ahead of Leicester, Crystal Palace and Everton. Everton have to play Man City and Forest. Not the easiest. Palace have to play Southampton and Bournemouth.
Mhm.
Bournemouth I know they're doing well. I just have a feeling they'll drop stupid points at some point.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel right talking about Bournemouth
It
as
doesn't.
a competitive team.
It
I'm
really doesn't.
looking at
Them
the
and
fixture
Forest.
right now, and I see, Bournemouth and Palace, and deep down in myself, I'm like, okay, this is a relegation scrap at the moment.
Yeah.
Because it has been for the last 5 years, it seems.
Yeah.
But that one against Southampton will be big, and we'll touch on all of our previews and predictions for all these other games. But as far as Leicester goes, they're in trouble. I think they're in deep, deep trouble. Do you
Mhm.
think they're more in trouble this week than Ipswich and Wolves, or
Less because they've got 2 more points.
okay?
They're not the ones doing the chasing. But whoever can manage to get some points out of this, if anyone can, and it's most likely to be Wolves, because no offense, Man U fans, if that is a game, if you're Wolves, you're looking at that lick in your lips saying this is one we could get.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know? So
The
whoever
Wolves-
can
Wolves
capitalize.
blood.
Yeah.
The Wolves are smelling blood.
Yeah, 100%. So whoever can capitalize, and if anyone is to, I bet it will be Wolves, just based on who they're playing. That's huge. You know, if everyone loses, no harm, no foul. But yeah, I don't see Leicester getting points. I don't see Ipswich getting points. The only one I could see getting points would be Wolves, because as you mentioned, they like to score, and as we've mentioned, Man U doesn't like to score. So that could be a recipe for a Wolves victory and a huge one to get them out of the relegation zone and ahead of Leicester and leave Ipswich behind. So it's going to be interesting. You know, I don't think it's at that point where you're looking at this as super critical, because at the end of the day, if you're Leicester, you're supposed to lose these 2 games, you know? So it's not like this is
There's
make
no
or break.
pressure on them. It's if you get a point, okay, hell yeah, we got a point from this. No one's expecting anything. What happens, happens. I do want to just touch on the Wolves aspect real quick. I guess it's they play Tottenham in their second match, as you said. The most Spursy thing you could do is you go out and beat Nottingham Forest on the road and then lose to Wolves at home.
Yeah.
That would not surprise me one bit. And I was just saying, I think Tottenham's going to beat Forest. I think they'll have a great game, but I could very well see them 2-3 days later just collapse against Wolves.
Yeah.
That's Tottenham mindset. You're mediocre at best.
It is. It is.
If you're in the Audi Cup or some other preseason.
What was it, the Asian one, like the one in China?
Yeah. Where you was that the one where they played Bayern Munich?
I don't even remember,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
I remember when they won it and everyone was like, "Oh, look.
Finally got a trophy. They're back. Side note, Tottenham is the Texas Longhorn equivalent. They keep thinking this is going to be their year. They're finally going to win a trophy, yet they fall short time and time again. That's an Arizona Sun Devil graduate. One thing to say, if we're going off topic, horns down.
Horns down. Hey, I'm full in.
ASU gets clapped, but
nah. Scataboo, baby. He's
Just
going
got
to
to
carry.
move. Feed him. Side note. There we go. We have to get a little tangent. College football playoffs. We're both diehard college football fans. Great time. Back to this football. And we may hop to college football at the end because I do want to ask you your predictions for the upcoming New Year's Eve playoffs because the last Premier League match is New Year's Day, so it's all around the same time. And there's a whole nother thing into it. We got 5 NBA games, 2 NFL games on Christmas, hockey, basketball's all back, college basketball's rolling.
Yeah. We're eating good.
Premier League.
We're eating good.
We have the Darts World Championships, which is the most entertaining sporting event to watch going on at the
That's
Alley.
how you tweeting about it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's how I got it. That's how I realized it was happening. I was like, oh, look at this. It's kind of sick.
Oh, yeah. No. I have some TV box thing that gets like 5,000 channels from around the world. Damn. So I've just been watching it on Sky Sports. Superb stuff.
That's sick.
I mean, it's all these kids who have gotten out of school for the holiday or young adults who have the winter time, Christmas time off. They're just getting pissed drunk watching people throw darts at a wall. And they're all wearing Halloween costumes. Like, there's people dressed as Buddy, a group dressed as Buddy the Elf, the Minions. People have cones on their head just because why not? Darts is lit, but
I love how easy it is to make humans happy.
Oh, we are such simple creatures.
It's so awesome. I mean, here we are. We're doing a podcast on friggin' a game. You kick a ball with your feet.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I love how simple it is to make us happy.
Absolutely.
God bless us, every single one, man.
Loud noises, lots of cheering, and lots of alcohol makes the world go round, especially in the sports world. I guess unless you're in the Middle East because you're not allowed alcohol there.
Yeah.
Besides,
that would suck. Yeah.
Speaking of the Middle East, Newcastle, as we know, Saudi-owned, they are taking on Man United in their second on Monday, 30th of December, the second match week of this Boxing Day fixtures. I don't know what to expect. I think because we've talked about how bad Man U's been. We've talked about how good Isak's been for Newcastle. Talked about the ups and downs that both these teams have been in. Where are you leaning in this one? Because I could see this being a draw. I could see this being a very, very tedious draw after both teams play 2 days or 4 days earlier.
I could too, because I kind of alluded to. Here's where my mind went. I kind of alluded to this. I think Man U loses to Wolves.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I'm calling that now. Just with how things are going, I'm going to make that shout. Write it down. Remember it. Newcastle beats Villa. Talked about that. So I think one team's going to be pissed off. The other is going to be riding a little bit too high from their victory, where they come together. And I really like the draw shout. A 1-1 feels very appropriate.
Yeah,
in my opinion. It really feels appropriate. If the results that I'm predicting happen in my head, I think that's what will happen.
Damn well could. And I mean, I love the way you put it. Newcastle, if they win against Aston Villa, which we're both predicting, that'll be 4 on the bounce, 4 in a row. It seems like they might be getting a little carried away with themselves. Suddenly, this will be a reality check. And you go to Old Trafford, there's no way in my mind I would predict Man U to lose 3 straight out.
Yeah.
In the Premier League, or I guess in general, because they played both their cup matches on the road. But there's no way they lose 3 straight at home. I'm not saying they win. I think it'll be a dire 0-0 draw. Or it won't be dire. It'll be exciting because both teams will have chances. I have a feeling Onana's going to make some ridiculous save. Yeah. And at the other end, Højlund or Rashford or whoever the hell is playing is going to squander some golden given opportunity. 0-0. You heard it here. Jackson's got 1-1. There we go. Any other matches you really want to touch on in detail before we go through kind of the other 15 matches we haven't really talked about at all?
No, it's unfortunate that we don't. But I think we hop into the predictions because, let's be honest, on paper, not an exciting slate. I'm ready to be entertained, though, and I'm ready to be proven wrong. I'm hoping we have a great time, but let's just hop into the predictions because I think we covered the most important ones.
Yes, we did. I agree with you. Then we will get it going. Thursday, December 26th, I will give dates for all of these because there are so many different days coming up. We'll start the early game, 7:30 Eastern time. Man City hosting Everton. Does Everton keep the losing streak going for Man City?
Nah, I just don't see it happening. And I might be stupid for giving them the benefit of the doubt, but I'm going 2-1. I
I think
always have to say they get scored on because it happens every game, but I'm going to say they win 2-1. And it's not pretty. I'm still not an Everton fan. I know they've picked up some good results, some impressive 0-0s, including against my team. They've
yeah.
picked up some good
Yeah,
ones
that is
recently.
true. It's decent results.
So that could happen again where they keep City off the score sheet. But I do think you'll see City score. And I think they'll score at least 2.
I also do want to just point out what a brutal stretch that was for Everton.
Oh my gosh. And they handled it wonderfully.
Oh, they did. You were meant to play home to Liverpool. That game was postponed because of a giant storm. Then at Arsenal, home to Chelsea, at Man City. You can't write up a harder stretch. And you're right. They got a point from Arsenal, a point from Chelsea. I don't see them getting a point here. I don't see them getting a goal here. I think Man City I think the John Stones that I expected last game will be back this game.
He's questionable, though. That's the thing.
Oh, did he pick up a knock again?
Yeah, he picked up a knock. That's why he came out.
I kind of just assumed that because I wasn't able to watch that match. I just assumed that he was just rest and they just subbed him off.
Yeah, he's doubtful. So he still could. It's a doubt, though.
Here's another comparison. Is Man City the new Philadelphia 76ers?
Oh my God, yes.
I think that's a very, very fair comparison.
Yes.
For
Who's
all of
Embiid?
For
Who's
all
the
of
one that we all hate? Grealish? Is Grealish Embiid?
Well, Grealish isn't injured enough. I think
No.
Embiid is a mixture of Stones and Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay. Yeah, the injuries plus the star player aspect.
Injury-wise star player, but he doesn't put up the help that he doesn't do as much as De Bruyne does when he's healthy and all that. But I do have a feeling Man City will win this one. I think it'll be 2-0. I think Haaland looks damn good. And this is a stretch for Man City. We talked about the Leicester match already, but they need to win both of these. They need to. No questions asked. If you drop any points, write the season off and focus on Europe. Maybe
they're struggling there. By the way,
they're not exactly doing good there. That's what
I think they're only 1 point clear right now. What were they? They're
22nd. The top 24 teams make it. PSG and Stuttgart are sitting 25 and 26 on 7 points to Man City's 8. With that being said, Real Madrid also only has 9 points.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of those bigger teams that we're used to seeing kind of kick ass in Champions League are towards the bottom, and at the top, we have Brest. Make it make sense.
Well, I mean, Brest are always on top.
There you go.
No.
I've been watching the Paramount Plus post-game shows with Michael Richards.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother thing. I love that commentary team.
Oh, it's awesome.
Paramount Plus folk are great, especially for Champions League. They give so much shit to each other.
They have fun, which is refreshing to see. I love when shows like that have fun. It's like inside the NBA, but for soccer. I
was going to say that's why everyone still loves the TNT NBA. That's why now that TNT's losing the rights, I think ESPN's bringing in the inside the NBA crew of Charles Barkley, Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie. That's a great time. And I think this is the second best group, the ones who do the Paramount Champions League. They handle it so well and are so funny. But
great chemistry between them all too. Like everything just works so well. Not even just the ones in the studio, but like even everyone reporting, everyone calling in. Like it's just the way they do it is so great. I love watching that compared to the bull crap I've had to put up with ESPN FC and all that. So
ESPN FC is a joke.
Oh, it's terrible.
It really is. But another joke is this upcoming game now we're into the 10 o'clock slate on Thursday. Bournemouth hosting Crystal Palace. We kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier. I think Bournemouth gets it done. I think they win. I think they win 2-1. I don't think they look as good again as they did against Man U, mostly because I have a feeling they're on such a high right now that they'll drop back down to earth a little bit here, but not enough to drop points.
Yeah. I'm going 2-1 Bournemouth. Palace, they look good in the Arsenal game. They had some very good chances. First of all, the goal was nice, and they had some that they should have finished as well. They can create chances, but I just like what I've seen from this Bournemouth team a little bit too much. I just don't see any way. I mean, obviously I see a way. I just mentioned a way, but I don't see them losing this game. I see them winning 2-1. they're playing too solidly right now. I don't see that stopping here.
No, I agree with you. Chelsea, Fulham, London derby, West London derby as well. I want to pull for Fulham, or I will pull for Fulham. I want them to win. I just don't see it happening. I think Chelsea's the better team. And talk about underappreciated, under talked about. I think we may have touched on this a couple of weeks ago in our last episode or the one before, but Chelsea is sitting in second, comfortably looking like the second best team at the moment. And no one's talking about it. All the talk about, okay, Liverpool's doing their stuff. Man U's in the mud. Man City's in the dirt. So fair play to Chelsea. I think they get it done, and I think they get it done easily. I'm not saying the scoreline's going to be easy, but I think they dominate. I'm taking them 1-0, but I think this is a game where if you were watching, you would think, or you look at the stats after, this should be a 4-0 or a 4-1 maybe. But I'm taking it 1-0. I just have a feeling that it's going to be a little feisty on Boxing Day.
I'm going 3-2. I think we're in for an exciting one. I really like Fulham's team. I think their attack's pretty decent. Jimenez up top, very good player. Then Iwobi and Adama Traore. First, Traore offers an element that no other player in the world can offer with his speed and physicality, and he's always a danger. And Iwobi's been in incredible form. Yeah. So I think they will score. I think they'll score 2. But Chelsea just bangs in goals. You know, the Everton game, they got held, but Everton has done that twice in the past 2 games. So fair credit to them. I don't think they get held again, and I think they'll score 3. That seems to be a number that they like. So yeah. I'm going to give it 3-2.
3 is the magic number, so I like it. We talked about Newcastle and Villa, Forest and Tottenham. There's another saying we have on this show, and this leads into this next game. If it's Southampton, go against them. Are you continuing that when they play West Ham?
100%. Give me 2-0 West Ham.
I'm following you exactly on that. Nothing more needs to be said. Southampton's.
Yep.
Wolves, Man U. You kind of gave your prediction already. You have Wolves winning. I don't know if you gave us a score line. Do you have a score line?
I'm going. Wolves love to score.
Yep.
Man U doesn't, but Wolves also like to concede. But at the end of the day, I think Wolves is going to score a little bit more here. I'm going 3-2 again.
Oh, I like that shot.
Yeah, I'm calling 2. I know it's probably not going to happen that I've called 2-3-2 score lines like this. But Wolves likes to score. They also like to concede. I'm going 3-2. I see them winning it, scoring 3 goals, but also giving up 2.
I have a feeling – I think there will be 2 goals scored each at least. But I am leaning to a 2-2 draw. I just have a feeling like Wolves do score a lot. They concede a lot. Man U doesn't concede very often. And this just is one that Man U's going to get some – they should lose 2-1, but they're going to get some late goal from Bruno or some penalty or some sort of – not BS because it'll be earned, but some late Fergie time goal to get a point. Liverpool, Leicester we touched on. Moving into Friday, December 27th. Brighton hosting Brentford at 2:30 Eastern time in the afternoon. What do you got here? Because this one's intriguing.
Mm-hmm. It really is.
2 teams that started really hot and have fallen off immensely.
Yeah, and they're both in similar places in the table. Brighton's in 10th. Brentford's currently sitting in 12th, 2 points separating them. So I think that I'm going – this is my draw right here.
Okay.
I'm going 1-1 on this one. I feel like they're 2 very similar teams. So I'm going 1-1. In terms of where – again, this might be a low-hanging fruit kind of thing to say, but with where they're at in the table and how they performed recently, it's just been very similar. And because of that, I just feel draw. I just feel the draw coming.
I like that shout. I think the difference is going to be Visa and Mbumo. I think the goals flow much better from the Brentford side of things, so I'm giving them that slight advantage. I'm taking 2-1. I don't feel confident in that at all, but I have a feeling that Brentford is the team more likely to take advantage of their opportunities, and they have the guys who have been clinical. Brighton's leading goal scorer somehow with 6 goals is Danny Welbeck.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that Danny Welbeck at 34 years old, and he's injured at the moment, so he might not be playing. The fact that he is your leading scorer is crazy to me because I remember watching him at Arsenal and him on the England national team tearing up people as a 25, 26
I
year old.
remember Man U.
And
I
man,
remember all the way back. Yeah.
It's crazy that he's their leading goal scorer. So for that reason, give me Brentford, give me the younger guys. Last game on the 27th, the last game of match week 1, or at least the first match week of this Christmas period, Arsenal and Ipswich. We talked a little bit earlier. You foreshadowed that you don't see Ipswich winning either. I don't see Ipswich winning this one at all. I'm taking Arsenal convincingly 3-0.
I'm going 3-0 too. Yeah, I don't see this being a game that we have problems with. Yeah, give me 3-0. Missing Saka for many, many weeks is going to suck, right? And the fact that Sterling's
Is he out?
He's out. He's out for, as Arteta put it very delicately, many, many weeks. So that's going to suck. But I don't think that's going to stop us in this. It also sucks that Sterling's injured because that was the natural replacement to go in.
Yep.
So he's out. So I'm very curious to see what we do here. Put Trossard over there, Martinelli start.
I still think the biggest issue with Arsenal is Tomiyasu's injured.
Yeah. That's the difference right there. If you've been watching, I'm the biggest Tomiyasu hater of any Arsenal fan. And I know a lot of Arsenal fans who love him. I just can't get on board. I root for the dude, but I just can't get on board.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he's a good dude. He makes so many stupid mistakes.
All the time he makes mistakes. That's his thing. He makes so many mistakes. You watch him play. It's just mistake. And then he'll have an insane game, and you're like, where the hell has this been? Next game, mistake. It's just never ending with him.
Yep. So I think we're both on board of an Arsenal thrashing.
Yeah, 3-0.
Moving into the second set of games, starting on Sunday, December 29th. We already talked about the early one, which was Leicester and Man City. Now, here's a hell of a game for us. And we talked about it briefly about this being our match of the week. Crystal Palace hosting Southampton. Crystal Palace is a team we pick against more often than not. Southampton's almost a team we pick against every single time. Mm-hmm. Which way are you leaning here? Because I think this is going to be the worst game of the entire weekend.
Is Southampton playing?
Yeah, it's Southampton and
I'm rooting against them. That's the point. If they're playing, you root against. We pick against them. It's until they prove otherwise, they will always get picked against. Give me Crystal Palace. Give me 2-0.
I'm going to contrary this time. Ooh. I think this is the first time I'm picking Southampton. Why?
Bad move.
Because fuck them. That's why.
There you go.
The only team Southampton beat this year, Everton. Twice. Once in the cup, once in the league. I guess they also beat Stoke, who's a second division or championship team. Cardiff, who's a championship team. They are due. Their last win was November 2nd. Give me a Southampton win, 1-0, an own goal.
That would be how they'd win.
No, that's what I mean. It's not going to be – no way they're scoring. It's going to be an own goal, and I have them losing 1-0 because of some craziness. That might be my hottest take of the whole season, I think.
I think so. Just picking them to win a game.
I know. It's so bad. With that being said, Palace is probably now going to come out and win, like you said, 2-0. But oh well. Got to pick Southampton once.
There you go.
Yes. Everton and Forest. This is also at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm taking Forest. Forest has looked far better. I still think Everton's one of those teams that if they don't escape now, they're going to get dragged into the relegation battle once again. And it's only a matter of time until they get relegated.
Yeah, I know. They've been edging us for so long. It's insane.
It's bad, but I'm taking Forest. I'm taking them 2-0. I think it's pretty straightforward for me.
Same exact scoreline for me. I like how Forest has been playing. I see a clean sheet. Seems like they've enjoyed scoring 2 goals a game recently. Yeah. So I'm going to stick with that. Give me 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. 2 goals against Brentford, 2 against Villa, 3 against Man U. Before that, they got shut out a couple times. So
yeah, we don't need to go that far back.
Recently, they've been on a tear in scoring as well. So yeah, and they're still conceding a goal here and there. So I like the 2-0 shout here. Fulham and Bournemouth. This one I want to take Fulham. I think I'm not convinced. I'll let you give your score prediction, but I think I'm going to take Fulham 1-0.
I'm picking Fulham as well. I'm liking Fulham right now, especially at home.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
yeah,
the difference for me is the
yeah,
fact that it's at
yeah.
Craven Cottage. It's
At
not here.
Craven Cottage, it's hard. It's hard to win there. It really is. It's a whole different atmosphere when you look at that stadium compared to the rest. It's its own unique thing, and
It
Fulham's playing really well there. So, give
yeah,
me
I mean,
Fulham. Give me 2-1. I think it's a close game. Bournemouth's been very impressive, as we've talked about on this show. Like, it's incredible to see them all the way up there, but I just feel like Fulham's gonna win this game.
yeah, I agree with you completely. Tottenham and Wolves. I'm taking Tottenham. Wolves are bad. But as we said earlier, this is one that I could very well see Tottenham winning their match against Forest at the holiday or on Boxing Day, but losing this to Wolves.
Mhm.
I'm going to take them 1-0, but it's by no means confident at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them 2-0. I think they handle this one pretty easily, but again, it's Tottenham, and they have been miserable this season, so you never really know. I do think they'll keep Wolves shut out in this one, though. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be an ugly one. But hey,
mm,
when isn't a Wolves game and a Tottenham game ugly?
that's so true.
I mean, you look at
Yeah.
their recent head-to-heads. Not pretty. I can tell you that much. No, it's so bad that the app isn't even going to show it to me. There you have it. We don't even know. Internet is unbeaten, or I guess it's beaten us this time. But moving on to the last game of the Sunday, December 29th fixtures, West Ham hosting Liverpool. Do the league leaders drop points here?
No. No, they
Agreed.
don't. I don't see a way they do. I think they win, and they win pretty handily. I don't see West Ham scoring. I see Liverpool scoring 2. Give me 2-0.
Okay. I like it. I'm going to go 3-1. I think Liverpool get goals, 2 goals early, concede in the second half, and then just put it away.
Mhm.
Monday, the 30th of December, we have 3 matches. One of them we've already talked about, Man U and Newcastle. That's a late game. That's the 3 o'clock Eastern time kickoff. 2 games at 2:45. Aston Villa hosting Brighton. Ipswich hosting Chelsea. I'll let you go. Knock out both of those.
Yeah, give me Chelsea. I think that one's pretty
Yeah.
straightforward. I see Ipswich scoring. I
Okay.
really do, but I see them losing 3-1. Give me 3-1 Chelsea, and gotta give me Villa. I picked Newcastle to beat him. So with how I'm seeing their season going, they'll come back and win this game. Have a tough loss to Newcastle. That's what I'm seeing. Then come back, rebound, have an impressive showing against a decent Brighton side. Give me 2-0 in that. I think they shut them out.
Okay. That's
Mhm.
very opposite of what I have. I have Villa winning, but I'm thinking this is going to be a high scoring 3-2.
Hmm.
I think both teams are going to just get flowing, and it's going to be one of those ones that you go to you have your Christmas dinner, you get a little lethargic, you're preparing for another game, you have that, then you got 4 days off to eat and relax and hang out. They're going to come out. Defense is not going to be great. Attack is going to get cooking, ready to eat some more and have a high scoring game that Villa wins. And then Chelsea 2-0. I think Chelsea batters Ipswich. I think it's pure domination.
Yeah.
Another one that I could very well see being like 4 or 5-0.
Yeah. 100. Anytime Chelsea plays, I feel like you could see them scoring that many.
Yeah. And last but not least, New Year's Day, because for some reason we don't have a game New Year's Eve. New Year's Day, the mighty Brentford at home to Arsenal. We talked a little bit about this before the show started. I know where you're at a little bit. I will give my prediction first. I think Arsenal gets it done. Ugly, ugly, ugly. I have it 2-1 with like a 95th minute winner.
I hope that happens because I'm going 1-1. I think missing Saka is going to be huge.
Yeah, and that is true.
That's what I'm concerned about. I still think we'll score, but I don't think we'll win. I think it's 1-1. I think good game. I don't think we get it done.
Yeah. No, it's going to be a fun one. And we have such a good weekend of sports.
Yes,
Good
we
week of sports. I am going to end it. Before we wrap it up, we talked a little bit about college football. We're talking a little bit more about it. I want to get your just playoff predictions for the 4 semifinal or 4 quarterfinals at the moment. Start ASU Texas. You don't need to give a score or anything. Just who do you think gets all these games done?
Yeah, Texas.
Sadly, I do too. Horns down, but oh well. Forks up. Most intriguing one to me, Oregon and Ohio State.
Mhm.
I want to take Ohio. I think I'm going to take Ohio State.
I'm taking Ohio State
The
100%.
way they demoralized Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys didn't know, I live in Nashville, surrounded by the god-awful orange of Tennessee. The fans were so miserable watching that game.
Oh, I bet.
It was a thing of beauty. And I'm there being contrary because I wanted Ohio State to win in first place. So
Yeah.
no, they're going to get redemption for that game they lost earlier in the season.
Oh, 100%. I mean, they lost to Oregon, but they lost after traveling across the country, and they lost on a fluky last-second mistake. Not really a mistake, more so just kind of unlucky with the time, I guess, but not fully aware of the situation. And it was so close. You lose by 1 on the road. They're going to be pissed. I think the Michigan game was an anomaly. I think they'll come out and they'll not kick their ass, but I think they'll win by more than 7 points.
I will say there is only one way Oregon really wins this game. And there was jokes about it all over Twitter that I saw. They had a jersey a few years ago.
I saw this.
It's a navy blue with yellow trim jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Very eerily similar to a certain team up north that has won 4 in a row against Ohio State. Just put it out there. If they wear any other uniform, I think Oregon loses. But that one might confuse the Ohio State players into thinking they're playing Michigan once again.
And then they'll just lose
by
habit.
Ryan Day will fold and sell. I think this might be the biggest blowout. Penn State, Boise State. Austin Genty was robbed of the Heisman Trophy, first of all. I'll just say that. Long live the Mountain West for whatever is left of it, because it looks like it's collapsing quickly, which is
so sad.
Oh, I mean, because you were a Mountain West guy growing up, weren't you?
I'm a Nevada fan, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You're a Nevada guy. I went to ASU, Pac-12. Our conferences are falling apart. It's tragic. Give me Penn State, sadly. I want to see Boise State win, but I just think they're going to be outmuscled, especially on the defensive end.
See, if Penn State didn't have James Franklin as their head coach, I'm going Penn State. But James Franklin likes to find ways to mess it up. And Boise State has been good in the Fiesta Bowl historically. Let's not forget what happened.
And I don't know if you saw this, they're wearing a certain color scheme worn in the Fiesta Bowl and are currently undefeated at 3-0 in that jersey. So you're saying there's a chance.
I'm taking Boise State.
Broncos.
This is my crazy pick. Give me Boise State. Ashton Genty is going to show who he is. And Penn State and James Franklin in particular is going to show who he is. They're going to flub it.
I love it.
Flub it.
I love it. I wish I was I'm pulling for Boise State. I think the majority of the country's pulling for Boise State, but I just don't see it getting done. Last but not least, go Dogs. Sick 'em.
Easy.
Yep. Fuck Notre Dame.
I want Notre Dame because my sister goes there.
That's fair.
I'm still backing Georgia. Even without Beck playing, I'm backing them. But Notre Dame looked really good. I think it'll be a close game, to be completely honest.
SMU looked really bad.
Or, Indiana in that game.
Indiana looked really bad.
Yeah, they did.
SMU also looked really bad, but that's a different
game. Tennessee looked the worst. I'm just going to throw that out there. But
would you take Tennessee over Indiana or SMU? Like if they played each other?
100%. But on the day, they just didn't show up. And in SMU's defense, at the beginning, their team was playing all right. Everyone was playing all right except for one position, and that was quarterback. Through 2 pick sixes and then another pick on top of that. Game was done the first half because he decided to not show up.
Yep.
Indiana just got outclassed. I'm straight up. Yeah.
Which is crazy for an in-state rivalry like that to go so one-sided. You think they'd at least show up with a little bit of determination, but no. And that's why I think Notre Dame loses, because I think they had it so easy all season. It's like Texas. Texas has played one ranked team all season. I guess technically 2 now with Clemson. They played Georgia twice. They lost to Georgia twice. They had the easiest strength of schedule.
People forget that.
People forget that Texas was given a cupcake schedule in the SEC. While Oklahoma ran the literal gauntlet, and there's a reason they finished like 6-6 or 7 this season.
6-6.
But go Dogs. We'll see what happens. college football, real football. It's a hell of a week. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year's. We'll see you guys in 2025. Enjoy the footy, enjoy the football, basketball, hockey. Everything's going right now. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next year.